Lieutenant Jinha's ship was dying. Red lights flashed all around him as smoke filled the small cockpit. His engine had stopped working 3 hours ago, and now he was floating in empty space near the Kepler system. "Come on," he whispered to his radio. "Someone please hear me." Jinha was a human soldier. He worked for Earth's army, flying patrol missions in the dark between stars. Today was supposed to be easy. Check the area, look for problems, go home. But his old ship had other ideas. The aliens who ruled this part of space called themselves the Galactic Hegemony. They had been the bosses for 3,000 years. To them, humans were nothing special, just another weak race that had joined their empire recently. Humans got the worst jobs, the worst planets, and no respect. Jinha's radio suddenly came alive. "Unknown ship, this is Admiral Vextar of the Hegemony Fleet. You are in our space without permission." Jinha felt his heart sink. The Hegemony ships were huge and powerful. His little patrol ship was like a toy compared to them. "This is Lieutenant Jinha of the Terran Defense Corps," he said into his radio. "My engine is broken. I need help." There was a long pause, then cruel laughter came through the radio. "A human," the alien voice said. "How interesting. We will help you, little human, in our own way." The Hegemony ship was massive. It looked like a metal mountain floating in space. Jinha's broken ship was pulled inside like a fish caught in a net. Armed aliens were waiting for him. Admiral Vextar had 4 eyes and skin like old leather. He looked at Jinha like he was looking at a bug. "Another human pest," Vextar said with a nasty smile. "Take him alive. I want to see what makes these creatures think they can fly with their betters." They grabbed Jinha roughly. His military training had taught him to fight, but there were too many of them. They dragged him to a dark room deep inside their ship. "You humans think you're so tough," Vextar said. "Let's see how tough you really are." For 3 months, they hurt Jinha in ways that would break most people. They used machines that caused terrible pain. They tried to make him tell them about Earth's military secrets. They wanted to prove that humans were weak and pathetic. But Jinha never broke. When they burned his skin with energy weapons, he just stared at them. When they put poison in his blood that made him scream inside, he only said his name, rank, and serial number. When they showed him fake videos of Earth burning, he called them liars. "Tell us about your weapons," Vextar would shout. "Lieutenant Jinha, Terran Defense Corps, service number 7749 Alpha," was all Jinha would say. The aliens couldn't understand it. Their torture had worked on hundreds of other races. Why wouldn't this human break? What they didn't know was that Jinha had a small computer in his brain. All human soldiers had them. The computer was recording everything. Every moment of pain, every cruel word, every terrible thing they did to him was being saved. And when the time was right, all of that information would be sent back to Earth. After 3 months, Jinha's body finally gave up. He died in that dark room, still having never told them anything useful. "Worthless," Vextar said, looking at Jinha's still body. "Throw it away. Humans are even weaker than we thought." But the Admiral was wrong. Very, very wrong. Jinha's small brain computer had been sending signals to Earth the whole time. Every scream he had held back, every drop of blood he had lost, every moment of his brave silence had been recorded. And now Earth knew what the aliens had done. The message was already traveling through space, heading home. Soon, very soon, people on Earth would see what had happened to Lieutenant Jinha, and when they did, the galaxy would learn what happened when you hurt a human being. The real story was just beginning. Director Harin was drinking her morning coffee when the message from space arrived at Earth's command center. It was a Tuesday, and she thought it would be a normal day. She was wrong. The message came from Lieutenant Jinha's brain computer. It had taken months to travel through space to reach Earth. When Harin opened the file and started watching, her coffee cup fell from her hands. She watched 3 months of torture in fast speed. She saw Jinha being hurt over and over again. She saw him refuse to break no matter what the aliens did to him. She saw him die with honor, never giving up Earth's secrets. Harin's hands were shaking with anger. She had seen many terrible things in her job, But this was different. This was one of their own people being destroyed by aliens who thought humans were just toys. She took the message straight to Fleet Admiral Quan. He was the man in charge of protecting Earth from the dangers of space. Quan was known for being calm and smart. He never let his feelings control his decisions. But when he watched Jinha's recording, something changed in his eyes. "They think we're weak," Quan said quietly, staring at the screen. "They think torture is fun. They think we'll just accept this." Harin had never seen the Admiral like this before. Usually he was peaceful and thoughtful. Now there was something cold and dangerous in his face. "Sir, we can't fight them," Harin said carefully. "The hegemony has 10,000 ships for every one of ours. Their weapons are much better than ours. If we attack them directly—" "Who said anything about attacking?" Quan interrupted. His eyes never left the screen where Jinha's broken body lay still. "This isn't about getting revenge, Director. This is about teaching them a lesson." He turned to look at her, and Harin saw something in his face that made her blood feel cold. It wasn't anger. Anger was hot and wild. This was something else. This was the look of a hunter who had just realized he was no longer the prey. "They want to know what makes humans special," Quan continued. "They want to understand how strong we really are. Then let's show them. Let's show them exactly what 3 billion years of evolution on a death planet creates when you push it too far." "What are you planning, Admiral?" Quan smiled, and it was the most frightening thing Harin had ever seen. "We're going to send them a weapon, Director. A weapon so dangerous, so crazy, so different from everything they know about war, that they'll spend the rest of their lives wishing they had never heard the word human." "What weapon?" "We don't have anything that can hurt their big ships." "Oh. But we do." Quan's smile got bigger. "We have the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. We have a human being with nothing left to lose." Harin stared at him. "I don't understand." "You will," Quan said. He pressed a button on his desk. "Get me our best Special Forces soldier. Someone who has lost everything to the hegemony. Someone who has nothing left but anger and the will to fight." "Sir, what exactly are you planning to do?" Quan looked back at the screen showing Jinha's final moments. His voice was quiet but filled with promise. "We're going to teach the galaxy what happens when you torture a human soldier. We're going to show them that Earth doesn't just get mad when you hurt our people. We get creative." He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars, and, "Harin, humans are very, very creative." The message had arrived. Earth knew what had happened to Jinha, and now the aliens were about to learn the biggest lesson in galactic history. When word spread through Earth's army about Jinha's death and Admiral Quan's secret plan, thousands of soldiers came forward. They all wanted to be the one to make the aliens pay. They came from every planet, every ship, every unit. The message was clear: hurt one of us and you answer to all of us. But Quan only needed one person. Captain Harin was perfect for what he had in mind. She was not the same Harin who worked in intelligence. This Harin was a frontline fighter, one of Earth's best Special Forces soldiers. 5 years ago, the alien hegemony had destroyed her home planet while mining for metals. They called it an accident and paid her family almost nothing. Harin had been carrying that anger for 5 years. She had used it to become one of humanity's most deadly warriors. Now Quan was giving her a chance to use that anger in a way that would change the galaxy forever. "The plan is simple," Quan said as they stood in Earth's most secret military base. Around them, scientists and doctors worked on strange machines. "You're going to surrender." Harin raised her eyebrows. "Sir? You're going to take our newest, invisible ship, fly it right into alien space and give up. Let them capture you, let them torture you just like they did to Jinha." "With respect, Admiral, that sounds like suicide." Quan's face never changed. "Captain, what do you know about human healing?" "That we don't heal very fast, sir." "Right. What do you know about how much pain humans can take?" "That aliens think we're weak." "Correct. What do you know about how easily human minds break?" Harin was starting to understand, and it made her heart beat faster. "That we're supposed to be fragile. The hegemony has spent 3,000 years learning how to torture every species they know. They know exactly how much pain will kill a creature from Rigel. They know which fears will break a mind from Centauri. They have torture down to a perfect science. Quan pointed to the work being done around them. But they've never met a human who has been changed. The changes were amazing and terrible. Tiny robots that would fix her body faster than it could be hurt. Brain implants that would turn pain into energy and strength. Mental training that would turn suffering into fuel for an unbreakable will. But the real weapon wasn't the technology. It was what the technology would let Harin become. They're going to torture you, Quan continued. And you're going to let them. You're going to survive everything they can think of. And when they think they've finally broken you, when they think they understand how weak humans are, that's when you're going to show them what a human really looks like when you take away everything she loves. Harin looked at the machines being prepared for her. Technology that would turn her into something between human and force of nature. How long do I have to survive? As long as it takes for them to realize they've made the biggest mistake in galactic history. The scientists finished their work. Harin stepped forward. When do we start? Quan smiled. Right now. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you push humanity too far. Harin felt the changes beginning in her body. She was no longer just a soldier. She was becoming Earth's answer to 3 months of torture. She was becoming humanity's weapon. The aliens had no idea what was coming for them. For 6 months, Admiral Vextar had the best time of his life. The human female who had surrendered in space was giving him more fun than he had ever imagined. Unlike Jin Ha, who had died too quickly, this one seemed impossible to break. Every torture method that worked on other aliens did nothing to her. She absorbed pain like water. Energy weapons that should have made her go crazy only made her eyes burn brighter. Mind tricks that had destroyed other warriors bounced off her like rain. When they locked her alone in darkness, she used the time to exercise. When they filled her room with poison gas, she held her breath and smiled. Amazing creatures these, humans, Vextar told his officers. Much stronger than we thought. We should capture more of them to study. What he didn't know was that Captain Harin wasn't just surviving the torture. She was learning from it. Every method they used, every weakness they tried to find, every cruel thing they did was being stored in her mind. The changes in her body weren't just keeping her alive. They were turning her into something the galaxy had never seen before. Then came the day when Vexitar made his biggest mistake. I'm getting bored with this human, he announced. Tomorrow, we kill her. But first, let's see if we can break her by showing her something special. They dragged Harin to a window and made her watch as they attacked a small human colony with giant weapons. 200,000 people died in minutes. Their only crime was being human. Vextar expected screaming. He expected begging. He expected the human to finally break and give him what he wanted. Instead, Harin looked at him with eyes that held the cold fire of a dying star and spoke for the first time in 6 months. Thank you. Vextar blinked in confusion. What? Thank you, she said again. Her voice carried a weight that made experienced soldiers step back. For showing me exactly who you are. For proving that this galaxy needs to learn what happens when you kill human children. The chains that had held her for 6 months snapped, like paper. The changes in her body that had kept her alive now served their real purpose. She moved through Vextar's giant ship, like a storm given human form. The aliens had prepared for human weapons. They had prepared for human ships. They had prepared for human technology. They had not prepared for human rage. Harin didn't just kill them. She showed them why humans had become the top hunters on a planet that had spent billions of years trying to kill them. She showed them what it meant to be a species that had learned not just to think, but to turn suffering into strength, pain into power, and loss into unstoppable determination. When she was finished, Admiral Vextar was the only alien left alive, on the ship hiding in his room as alarms screamed everywhere. Please, he whispered when she found him. We can make a deal. The hegemony can give you anything. The hegemony is about to learn something very important, Harin interrupted. You wanted to know what makes humans special? Here's your answer. We are the species that survived on a world where everything tried to kill us, and we didn't just live, we won. We are the species that looks at impossible things and asks, how fast? We are the species that takes your worst nightmare and uses it as our starting point. She moved closer, and Vextar saw something in her eyes that made him finally understand why the galaxy should have left humanity alone. You tortured one human soldier, and Earth sent you a weapon that doesn't exist in any book or computer you know. Do you know what that weapon is? Vextar couldn't speak. A human being who has lost everything and has everything to prove. Now, you're going to carry a message back to your hegemony. You're going to tell them that they have awakened something their 3,000 years of power never prepared them for. Through the window, Earth's war fleet appeared. Hundreds of ships, each carrying humans who had heard Jinha's story and watched Harin's 6 months of torture. You wanted to know how strong we are? Here's the truth. Our strength isn't in our ships or weapons or technology. Our strength is that when you hurt one of us, the rest of us don't just get angry. We get creative. She smiled, and it was the most beautiful and terrifying thing Vextar had ever seen. And humans are very, very creative. The galaxy would never be the same.